Harrison and Williams.
Thank you. Item 2 on the agenda, which is the approve the minutes of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee held on the 23rd of January. Is it your wish that I sign those as a true record? Your consent? Thank you. And item 3 on the agenda, do we have any declarations of interest? No, don't see any. All right, thank you. Item 4 on the agenda is to receive the South Staffordshire Council Plan for 2024-28, and I call upon, I think, is our Chief Executive, Dave Hayward here, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I think the leaders saying a few words, I believe.
No, thank you. Thank you very much, Dave. Good evening, members. I would like to introduce the Council Plan 24-28, and the Chief Executive will take you through the details. In May 2023, South Staffordshire residents elected a new council, which will now serve them through to 2027. This plan reflects the council's priorities and includes an ambitious delivery programme focusing on addressing today's challenges so we can all look forward to a thriving future. The draft council plan sets out our ambitions for the next 4 years. The plan has been produced with assistance from a cross-party members working group who have met to discuss the development of the new plan. Since the production of our last council plan, the council, our partners and our communities have experienced many challenges, including the pandemic, Brexit, asylum and refugee support, and the cost of living crisis brought on by the global economic crisis from the war in Ukraine and the conflicts in the Middle East. The legacy of these challenges have inevitably left their mark, with some, like the cost of living, still present issues with our communities today. In response to these challenges, the council has remained nimble and connected, responding to local priorities, and despite the pressures and uncertainties, we continue to move forward and make strides with our ambitions. This plan sets out the council and its partners can do all we can to reassure the communities of South Staffordshire continue to survive. The plan sets out our vision and 4 priorities, which will deliver over the next 4 years. We will continue to move forward and progress our ambitions to keep our communities vibrant. The council vision as a place of vibrant communities will be delivered through 4 priorities: financial stability, economic growth, sustainable environment, and empowering our communities. I would ask that members consider the draft plan 24-28 for approval by the council of March 26th. And I'll pass over now to Dave Hayward to take you through the details. Dave.
Thank you, Leader. Good evening, members. As the leaders just pointed out, the report sets out the draft council plan from April 2024 through to March 2028. And it's been overseen and worked on by officers of the council in conjunction with one of the 3 member working groups that was chaired by Councillor Martin Perry, and we've had several meetings to help shape and pull the draft plan together. And as the leaders pointed out, it's been informed by data, intelligence from aspects, the national census, our place narrative, our locality data sets, and the recent resident survey that was carried out at the back end of last year. So the plan itself, before I hand you over to Claude to take you through the detail, it's divided into 2 sections. The first section picks up on the general introduction, how we pulled it together. Importantly, picks up on the council's vision and the council's priorities for the next 4 years. The second section of the plan homes in on how we'll deliver the plan over the next 4 years. So very deliberately, it initially highlights the services that we have direct responsibility for. And that's really, really important because those are the services as a council that we lead on. So there's something like 17 front-facing services that we lead on as a council, plus our commercial agenda. But then there's the functions that we we can only influence by working in partnership. So we don't have overall control, but we've got a real strong influential role as part of our overall community leadership function and role as you play as members. And a really good example is, and it's really pertinent tonight, is highways issues. One of the biggest challenges, issues for our residents, but something that we can't control, we can influence, hence the conversations this evening, but we can't control. Another example is around community safety. Again, there's elements that we take the lead on as a council, but there's the broader policing issues that we can only influence. So how the community feel safe in the day and safe in the evening, we have a role to play, but it's that supporting role. And what the council plan tries to do is distinguish between the responsibilities that we lead on as a council and the responsibilities that we can influence. The plan also picks up on how we engage with our communities over the next 4 years, how we're proposing to continue to engage with communities, I should say, and how we'll measure our performance. Now, it doesn't go into the detail. That will be picked up in the first overview and scrutiny meeting 6 months into the new council plan from April 2024, but it just highlights how we'll measure whether we're having an impact and making a difference within our communities. So at this point, I'm going to pause and hand you over to Chloe just to take you through some of the key messages and the stats coming through and how we're looking to shape the council plan.
Good evening, members. As you're all aware, as part of the process of pulling together the new council plan, we did work on updating the data profiles, specifically the place narrative and the locality data profiles. Now, we brought those to overview and scrutiny in October, but we've added them as the documents tonight, just as a reminder, so you can see some of those key stats coming through. So just taking you through some of those key stats. And we are only highlighting a few for the purposes of tonight, but we can see that our population continues to age. So we have seen this in previous data profiles, and I think when we refreshed it with the 2021 census data, like I say, we could see all of this strongly coming through. We can see that life expectancy remains relatively high across the district. And again, you probably saw when you got some of your locality data, there are a few nuances across the localities. But we can also see that ageing well remains a challenge, and that really came through in some of the public health data that we received to inform, both the locality profiles and the place narrative. Population reduced by 3.8% in people aged 15 to 64 years, and again ties in with the ageing population of the district. And finally, final point on this slide, South Staffordshire is a low crime area, and that's defined by the Home Office. Okay, in terms of the key messages, as part of this process, we also did a resident survey, which was basically out in the field for about a month. It was a digital survey, but we also did produce hard copies to members in those localities where necessary. And in total, we had approximately 1,200 responses to that resident survey. And as the Chief Exec mentioned, we also worked closely with a cross-party member working group when we were designing the survey. So that allowed us to draw out some of the issues that were important to our residents. So after pulling together the headlines of the survey, we also broke down that survey to localities, and again we shared that with you. But again, just picking up on some of those key messages, it was quite clear that South Staffordshire is a place where people want to live. In total, about 89% of our residents confirmed that in the survey. And we also saw a real important sense of how the natural environment affects our residents' feelings about the district, their villages, our place. The beautiful, the distinctiveness, the open spaces. And there was also recognition that there was continued growth across the district and in our villages, but in a sensitive way. which ultimately allows us to retain the distinctiveness of our villages. And some of you might remember a few years ago, we coined the phrase community of communities. Again, we don't have, a town. And I think, again, that really came through in the survey and resonated, with our residents. And then we also saw the stats around housing affordability, which, continues to rise. So through the resident survey, we did also take the opportunity to ask our residents to choose from 3 statements about the district, which one they felt best described the district. 32% of the residents surveyed said that it was a place of vibrant community. So what you can see in the council plan, that this translates nicely into the new vision for the council plan. Through the data sets as well and the consultation that we carried out, we also kind of picked up on and had many discussions through the officer groups and the member working groups about the challenges that we face. And again, I feel like these have been captured and summarised in the 4 priority areas. So in terms of financial stability, we clearly in this one set out our ambition to remain in a strong financial position. We do recognise that this is not without its challenges. However, we do feel like we're building on solid foundations. And you can also see in the plan that we've highlighted the key objectives, and we really see these as the hooks in which we'll measure our performance. We're planning for the future, regardless of any uncertainties we may face. So, for example, when we went live with the last council plan, COVID hit us and we went into lockdown. And I think it's important to recognise that this didn't stop us from delivering on our priorities. If anything, it confirmed our ability to be flexible and adapt to the environment. So in the objectives that you see listed, you'll see we highlight our workforce, and we want to remain as an employer of choice and also maintain our commercial offer and provide value for money services. In terms of economic growth, this translated as a priority that basically we are bringing forward from the previous council plan. And our key objectives in this one are to maximise the district's assets. So again, delivering on our growth agenda, creating more jobs through partnership working and supporting the development of right skills, again, across the district. The third priority, sustainable environment, is probably the most broad of all the 4, and that's because that was so important to our communities. And fundamentally, this one, it's really about creating the right environment, so delivering on our climate change agenda, ensuring planning policy addresses issues of sustainability, so we've got the right housing mix across the district, and ultimately to retain our vibrant and distinct villages. So finally, empowering our communities. And again, whilst we don't know what the future will bring, we do know that strong communities are the basis on which we can plan ahead, with hope. So we can see from our stats that not all of the challenges we face we can tackle alone. And this is where we will be building on existing strengths of our partnership working. And so that's together we'll respond to those issues and challenges that really, anyway, are best addressed through our collective efforts. And for example, a real important one going forward will be the health and well-being of our residents and the district. So, final slide. So in terms of measuring our performance and finishing off on how we will do this and our plans, we will be honing in on developing some performance indicators, which we're currently working on at the moment. And these will come to you in the first quarter of the financial year, once obviously the new council plan has been approved. We're also working to update the integrated performance management report, which is brought to overview and scrutiny bi-annually. And again, that will reflect the new council plan's priorities. And really, this document's crucial because it looks at performance to date, but it also helps us shape the future performance. And obviously, it keeps us on track as we go forward. Annually, as a commitment and as a minimum, we're looking to survey members, residents and staff through annual surveys. And again, this will really help us gauge our performance against the council plan, but also again, measuring our progress and shaping the future. The Chief Exec's already touched on community engagement, but over the last year, one of the other things that's been key is that we know by engaging with our communities, it really does provide us with a sense check that what we're providing is what they want. So over the last year, we've had both a member working group looking at community engagement and also our Aspire programme. So we'll be focusing on this and looking at best practice, and that will help us keep an ongoing conversation, you know, as we go forward through the lifetime of this council plan. And then finally, in terms of measuring our success, you know, we still have a commitment to the LGA peer review. Our last one, it was in 2022, and we really do see this one as a good vehicle to measure ourselves against our peers, and also selective recognition through awards, which we'll, you know, approach again throughout the 4-year cycle of the council plan.
Okay, thank you, Clodagh. Dave, I wonder, are there any questions, please? Simmons.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for such a comprehensive report on the council plan. I've just got a few questions that I've picked up. Some of these might be coming later, so I do apologise in advance if that's the case. But there's a couple of things that I came across. The first thing was the plan talked about embedding district activities in our villages. And do you have any more information as to how the plan envisages that happening? Another thing that came, it was 36% of respondents to the survey say they're not interested in volunteering. Does the plan have anything to encourage our residents to volunteer more? And the final thing, again, it was on the survey, is what came out was the in one answer to the survey, I think house prices came bottom of priorities, and that suggested a couple of things to me. Firstly, the survey was structured in a way that residents were asked to rank 1, 2, 3, 4, rather than on a scale of 1 to 10. This is important. And secondly, there was a higher number of older responses. I know we're an older district, which may have skewed that response, and also the response for electric vehicles as well. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. The first query regarding the village activity, you're probably aware that recently we appointed 2 new locality enablers, and we've got one focusing around community engagement. And one of the things that Alex is working on at the moment, he's liaising with other locality enablers, but also with your parish clerks and community groups on what is going on, so we can pull a comprehensive timetable together. Also, once we've got this completed, we're looking to showcase this on our website as well. So we are acknowledging that there is lots of activities going on in the communities. In terms of the next one about volunteering, I have to say it was a bit of a surprise to me. We previously in surveys have had a higher response of our residents who volunteer. Now, we could make some suppositions as to why that is, but one of the things that we are doing and currently working with is Support Staffordshire, who obviously have a focus around volunteering. So in our work programme with them this year, we've picked up increasing volunteering across the district. And I don't know whether any of you attend their sessions in your localities, but hopefully that will come through. And we'll also look to promote those opportunities through the news roundups that we send out as well to members, residents, etc. Your last point, and again, it's a true comment about probably a lot of the respondents to the survey were our ageing population. And one of the great things about having a member working group looking at this, as well as the Aspire group, is they've both been able to look at ways that we can start targeting some of our younger residents. So we do get their valuable opinions as we go forward.
Can I just come in on that last point about the resident survey, and yes, it was more older population than younger ones, but I think we still capture it within the council plan, and climate change is a really good example. I think what came through in the survey was more around protecting the green belt, the environment, and the clean, green, safe approach. Whereas we know if we spoke to the younger population, it would be more focused on the climate and some of the challenges around there. So we've recognised that, and within the actual council plan, within one of the 4 priorities, it's still there, the climate change, etc. So some of the aspects we know younger people would pick up on has been identified and will come through the detailed action plan that will follow.
Councillor Kinsey.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and thank you, Clodagh, for presenting that report. I actually think that the documents that have been produced and all of the data that goes with it is absolutely fantastic. There's so much depth there to get your head around. I think that's really wonderful, and it will take me certainly a lot more time than I've had to really get to fully understand what it actually tells us, and I think probably likewise for others as well. I don't know whether I might, in saying how fantastic it is, I don't know whether I might have to declare an interest, seeing as I've identified that I'm actually pictured in the council plan, embarrassingly. I don't know whether you can pixelate me out. I'd be quite happy with that. My question actually refers to crime. And I know this is, I suppose, really having done this, what we can do with the kind of things that all of this data is telling us, because we do acknowledge in this that South Staffordshire is a low crime area, and that is borne out in the statistics. However, within the statistics, within the survey responses, in localities 1, 2 and 3, it's their top issue. I suspect if you took away concern around the local plan that has existed, it would be the same for localities 4 and 5 as well. So our communities are reasonably concerned about crime, but the statistics say it is very low. Is there anything we can do as a council to capitalise on that, like keep pushing that message that actually we are very lucky to live where we live, that crime is very low? But also perhaps to encourage reporting. I mean, for instance, I'm forever running into residents saying, I'm concerned something is going on at the alleyway at the bottom of our road, drug deal, you know, whatever it might be going on. And I say, okay, are you reporting it? Oh, no. And that is a real frustration. Is there anything we can do if there is such a perception of crime? What can we do with that to A, demonstrate that we are very lucky to live where we are, but also that residents do have a responsibility to help us build a case for, you know, the police and the services we need to tackle it. Thank you.
I think the perception of crime has again been a challenge for us for a long time now, and again that probably ties in with our ageing population and how important that is to feel safe in our communities. And like you said, we are ultimately, but that is also not to say that crime doesn't exist in our district, and it does. I think the vehicle for this is really through the Community Safety Partnership, again, of which we're a key partner, a statutory partner. And we do work closely with the partnership. And again, over the last few years, we've been fortunate enough to work with our police colleagues to get data broken down to localities as well. And it has been really useful in identifying some of those nuances and honing in. So there's been some kind of really good examples of how by using that data, we can tackle some of those issues locally. I don't think I probably have an answer to how to solve the perception issue, except you are right. We should keep giving that message. You know, we are a safe district to live in predominantly, And certainly, yeah, residents, if they do have any issues in their communities, you know, should be flagging them, certainly at the community safety partnership level, or indeed to us at district. And again, we can feed that into the partnership.
Thank you, Claudia. Councillor Allen.
Thank you. Beautifully presented document. Some spelling errors, please, particularly Purton Wrottesley with an R in, and walking trials rather than walking trails in the report about Bagridge. I think from my point of view, one of my chief concerns is our younger generation at the moment. There has been a massive increase in mental health issues for our younger generation, and our younger adults, sadly, are really struggling with affordable housing in terms of rents as well as purchase. And I realise there's not a lot we can do about that, but I do think we need to more of a focus on both providing skills for our people. I noticed with some alarm the decline in the academic success of secondary schools in our area. I'm going to be as blunt as that. GCSE results are falling, not rising. And I feel seriously concerned then about the disadvantage to our young people in the job market. I know that we've got certain secondary schools with certain aspects that they're focusing on, but clearly that isn't working if we're not achieving the results that are required to be measured nationally. And that all impacts on the health and well-being of the next generation. They do need to look forward with hope and optimism, and I'm wondering what they can find in this document that will hinge that. And this is where I'm concerned about how it's presented, and that there isn't a focus on our young people. They'll perceive these documents, I don't think. I know we liaise with the schools, and I think that needs more of a prominence in what we're doing, that we are engaging young people. I'd be very interested in having a youth council, frankly, and I've experimented with that before at the parish council level, and the impact of that on young people looking for in their communities was very interesting. We ran that as an experiment for a couple of years, particularly in sporting activity. So just want to echo that for you while we're looking at health well-being, while we're looking at the affordability of housing for these young people. And I wonder sometimes if the declining numbers of young people is because they're moving out of our area and they want to seek work and they're not feeling that they're achieving their maximum potential.
Thank you for your comments, Councillor Mullin. Much apologies about the spelling. That should not have happened. Okay. In terms of young people, one of the things that I can say, and I really feel this is quite positive, through the partnership working and in parallel with building the new council plan, we've been working with partners to produce a partnership plan, and that's on all of those joint priorities that, again, we know we can't tackle on our own. And there is some really interesting examples of work around children, young people and mental health that are coming through that, for instance. Again, like I say, it's one we can't do on our own. Our leisure centre is obviously a joint site facility, so we're certainly having conversations, and you know, we do talk to our partners. But like I said, I really think it's through that strand of work that we'll see some of those key priority areas that you've mentioned being tackled.
Could I say then, please, that some aspect of that should be included in this report so that young people can see they're being considered? It's in writing in front of them.
I think we've got to be very careful here, though, Councillor Allen, and be absolutely clear that this is about services that we lead on and we control. This is what the council plan. We can't be putting in pledges and promises around services that we've got very little control over. And I think it's going back to Claudia's point about our partnership approach. We do this in partnership, we influence, and through the partnership model, through our locality model, through yourselves as local members, that's how we'll focus on some of the young people. But I think in terms of it is reflected within the document. If you look at the 4 priorities, we're not explicit around how we're going to deliver it. That comes after in relation to the action plan, but we have to retain that balance. I said it in my intro in terms of what we lead on and control and what we influence, and we can't be, we've got to be very careful not to go down the pathway of as I said, making pledges that we can't deliver on. So because we haven't got that control. We've only got, we can only influence, and I think it's that fine line.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Steele.
Thank you, Chairman. Is it the right time to ask a question on the appendix accompanying the council plan? Okay. Resident survey 2023. There's a bit of a chart with some figures and percentages, and I think there's a bit of misrepresentation there. We've got locality, well, the 5 localities, and the first column is population of the district, percentage of the district. If you take locality 2, it's 9.7% of the total population of the district, which is about 12,000 people. Number of responses was 178. Okay, not all the 12,000 would be people who would even be eligible, but let's divide that by 4. That's 3,000. We've still only got 178 responses for that locality too. And the final column says response percentage, and it says 15.7%. Now, at first view, you think, well, that's a good response. But that's a lie, because it's not a response of the total population. It's a response percentage of the meagre 1,144 people who responded. And it works in the same way. Locality 4, 20.5% of the population percent of the district. So that's 26,000 people. And the last line says response percent 22.7%. It's more like 1 in 20 people responded throughout the district. So, and we base what we're going to do on some of these responses. In my opinion, that's not good enough. If only 1 in 20 people, they're either not bothered or they don't care, or we're not getting to people. And I noticed this was all electronic. I think 47 paper copies out of 120,000 people bothered to get a paper copy. I just think it's pointless and a waste of money.
If I could just respond to that, I think it's a measure. It's one of a number of measures that we looked at. Yes, the resident survey, we had 1,200 responses. It's an indication. If you take the place narrative, if you take the national census, what I'd sort of push back on, Councillor Steele, you go back to the council plan, would you disagree with any of the priorities that have been identified based on your understanding, your knowledge, what you see and feel across the district? Because across the board, you know, we have to balance. I've said this before, it's a balancing act. And it gives us an indication, it gives us a flavour of the messaging, the messages that are coming through. But if you strongly disagree with the priorities that have been identified and the objectives within that, fine, come back and we'll certainly, I say take a look at it. We've had quite an extensive sort of discussion with members of the working group, with officers, with partners. And these are the key sort of messages coming through.
Well, if I may come back on one, people in general in South Staffordshire love the natural environment. At the moment, planning is coming under bombardment regarding the natural environment from solar farms, BESS installations. I don't think the answers in a couple of years' time will be quite people who want to live in this area because of the natural environment. You know, that sort of thing, we've got to do something about it.
Again, if I could just respond to that, that's where the importance of the local plan, because that sets the policy out, and it's a key part of the overall council plan. And on, you know, like it or not, we are led by national policy, and we have to base our local plan recognising the national policy, and that's where you can't underplay the importance of the local plan going forward, and we have to get it right, and we're in the process of doing that. There was a very good member session last night where officers took you through the latest developments and where we're at, and it is about protecting the environment and further enhancing it where we can. And it is a challenge, but it's one that we have to balance against that national policy that's set.
Councillor Dufty.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation as well. There is a lot of good stuff in this report. I do agree a little with Councillor Steele about the size of the sample, and maybe that's something that could be worked on for the next one. Is this a draft report, or are we? There's a few errors on some of the things I've noticed to do with Kimber, but I can also see where you've drawn the data from. So I think it's the source you've got it from. I'm more than happy to just liaise, which I think would be it. Thank you.
Do you have any further questions? No? Well, there's a recommendation is item 8, and that is that member. Sorry.
Councillor, yeah, that would be great if you could come back with the comments. I think the document that you're referring to as well is the place narrative, not the council plan. But yeah, if you whiz those over, I can pick those up and amend it. We keep it live now, so we can change and update things. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Well, as I say, there's a recommendation at item 8 that members consider the draft council plan 2024 to 2028 for approval by council on the 26th of March. Are we all content with that? Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 5, Staffordshire County Council Highways. And we have with us tonight County Councillor David Williams with a different hat on, Cabinet Member for Highways and Transport, and Mark Keeling, Community Highways Manager for South Staffordshire. Councillor Williams, did you present?
Thank you very much, and good evening, members. As I say, I've got Mark Keeling here, who is our Community Highways Manager for South Staffordshire. We're here today. Obviously, we've had some questions, and people do have questions with regards to Staffordshire Highways. So we're here to be able to answer questions and have a chat about things that are what's going on within the county, as well as in South Staffordshire. And let you know what's going on with and around highways. So if I may just very quickly say that due to climate change, we've actually had the wettest winter in 130 years, experiencing about 2.5–3 times more than normal rainfall for this time of year. And following 8 named storms since last autumn, rivers have been full and ground's been saturated, resulting in a double-whammy impact on our local roads, including a significant runoff from our surrounding land and many hampered highway drainage outfalls. Together with the cold winter conditions, the impact on the county's fragile road surfaces and the country's has been quite significant, including in many cases the accelerated deterioration of existing Cat 3 defects. In Staffordshire, we've seen the highest numbers of about 3 times the amount of Cat 2s and Cat 1s and emergency defects that we've ever recorded, due to potholes, which is standing water and storm damage. The consequences now felt widely across the highway service, and in 2023 we received 45,821 recorded customer inquiries, which is around 50% increase compared to the 12 months previous. And so far this year, we've already received 11,500. Last Thursday alone, we received 496 Cat 1 defects compared to a typical average daily average of 150. However, working together with the transformation that I spoke to you about previously, we have managed in the last year to repair 16,000 defects. Over 27,000 gullies have been cleansed, and a lot more areas have been had the what do we call it's the preservation type of the surface dressing. This year, obviously, with our budget as it is, we have a brand new plan that we will be delivering out across the county, which will go to full council on Thursday for approval. And as such, I'll be able to then send it out to all members, which I will do, to let you know which roads will be having both the structural work carried out in it and the preventative work. So we have got some questions already, and I've sent everybody that on their email now. So if anybody's got any questions or wish to come through, Chairman, it's over to you.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. What I'm proposing to do is I'll run through these one at a time. I'm not going to read them out for obvious reasons. I'll just announce the number and the county council, or the councillor rather, that's actually put this written question in. I'll ask for a response, and then I'll actually give you the opportunity, if you wish, to ask a further supplementary question. So the first one is from Councillor Rob Nelson. Councillor Williams.
Sorry, Chair, is there a supplementary question, or did you want us to actually do the reply? Okay, no problem. Thanks, Mark. So, thank you for your question, Rob. Staffordshire County Council, in partnership with Stoke City Council, carry out civil parking enforcement of vehicles where parking restrictions already exist and vehicles are in contravention of the traffic regulation order. The civil enforcement team can also address the blocking of drop curb, pedestrian disabled crossing points and drop curb vehicle access crossings. Any issue of a vehicle parked dangerously or causing obstructions is the matter of the police. If parking restrictions are in place and vehicles are parking in contravention of the traffic order, then these matters can be reported to the online report it via the www.staffordshire.gov.uk or through the My Staffs app. Our civil enforcement officers will then assess and, if deemed necessary, arrange a visit to the location.
Thank you. Councillor Nelson, do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, if I'd be able to liaise with somebody from Staffs County Council who could actually come down, have a look at the problems that we're actually experiencing at the moment, that'd be possible.
I think we'll be able to get our community highways and one of our community highways officers out to meet with you. But if you can let us know exactly what the issues are, and so we can look at that, we'll be happily do that.
Yeah, we have quite a lot of issues going on there at the moment. I think it might be better if I could liaise with somebody and point things out to him rather than reel off everything that's actually going wrong we got at the moment.
Mark will ask Diane to get in contact with you and we'll be able to arrange that.
Thank you. Moving on to question 2 from Councillor Steele.
Thank you, Councillor Steele. So we have approximately 108,000 street lighting assets, to include street lights, illuminated signs, subways and reflective bollards. Our lighting is managed via a 25-year contract with E.ON, which runs until May 2028. E.ON manage all our faults, our maintenance and asset replacement of the assets. Problems relating to street lighting can be reported to us directly via our website or the My Staffs app. The safety of road users is taken extremely seriously, and all damage to highway assets is prioritised for repair based on an assessment of the risk posed to the travelling public. Highways teams confirm that there are tests in our system to replace the flexi bollards within the central reservations of the A34 Great Worley and the A460 at Alice Westcroft.
Thank you. Councillor Steele, got a supplementary question?
Yeah, I'd like some idea of when the repairs might be carried out. Street lighting, I gather, is for the safety of the highway, also for the safety of pedestrians, The lights have been out for 2 months. There's dark areas on a main trunk road into South Staffordshire from Wolverhampton. I know it because I walk it every day about 5 times with my dog. So I'm up to speed on. I know they haven't been repaired. And as for the bollards on the A34, they were reported in November, late November, that was last year. They are what I call pedestrian crossings, but they're not a zebra. It's a refuge in the middle, and surely the idea of a reflecting bollard is so that they reflect and the cars don't mow the people down if they were daft enough to try and cross there. And also because the bollards had been catapulted off, it left 2 metal rods approximately 2 foot high and 1/2 inch diameter. And they've been spinning like that for nearly 3 months. So the question was, where does highway safety appear? Surely we're not just concentrating on bollards. I could have asked, potholes. I could have asked questions on potholes, but I left that to other people. I just thought I might ask a couple of other safety related. 3 months for something that's honestly dangerous, I find, not good enough.
Good evening, everyone. For streetlights, E.ON are normally very much on the ball, and I'm surprised that the lights have been out 2 months, to be honest. If you could provide me with any further information on where those lamp columns are, retrieve the numbers and go direct to E.ON. It could be that there's a cable fault, but they are normally very proactive and will come out straight away. The flexi bollards, they don't come under street lighting, they'll come under highway maintenance. So unfortunately, the teams have been concentrating on the high priority defects on the network, your category 1s and 2s, but they will get to those flexi bollards. They are there to highlight their splitter island, as you quite rightly say, and they do need replacing, but I'm confident that the works have been raised, and I'll try and push that through for you.
And just to allay everybody's fears with regards to street lighting, our PFI programme completes very soon with the amount of different types of heads that we're changing over to LEDs, which will not only save us a lot of money, but actually will reduce the amount of carbon that we're putting out quite considerably. And we've now refunded through the Crown procedures that we are now going to extend that, so we'll be carrying on changing the heads through E.ON for further highways lighting, and that will all be changing to LEDs. That will also include both the red and green amber lights for stop signs, and also the signs that are illuminated where it's safety. So we're trying to both save money at the same time as protect the planet.
Thank you. Moving on to number 3, Councillor Hopkins, please.
Thank you for your question. So all roads within the Staffordshire network are all considered with equal merit and prioritised against all identified works. Prioritisation is based not only on condition, but also includes several other factors such as network hierarchy, accident record claims, whether a cycle route, where part of a resilient network, or winter maintenance route, proximity to public buildings, etc., all of which consider risk, impact and customer and benefit. Lawn Lane currently has defects awaiting repair, which will be carried out under 3-way lights as soon as possible. Highways teams are currently dealing with an unprecedented number of high category defects that are taking priority. The potholes at Bugden's End have been categorised as Cat 1 and a repair has already been carried out. Highway team are aware of the defects at Barnhurst Lane, and local officers are arranging to meet members on site in the coming days. It was unfortunately cancelled yesterday, so that has been rearranged. Substantial patching was carried out in February last year. However, further defects have appeared and these will be actioned as soon as possible, alongside longer-term plans to address the overall condition of the carriageway. The bollards at Birches Road, Bilbrook, were funded via the Parish Council and actually installed by the District Council. And highways officers are meeting with Councillor Bob Spencer in the coming weeks to discuss the speeding issues raised against the adjacent to Coastal High School and Watery Lane.
Councillor Hopkins, do you have a supplementary? Microphone.
It says no. Thank you. So on the prioritisation, is there any plan to increase the prioritisation of roads that are adjacent to larger new developments? So we've had a bit of a discussion about this already, that perhaps we ought to be looking at roads where there have been developments, where there might be developments, to see if those can be prioritised potentially, because they're obviously going to be getting more traffic. Good news on Lawn Lane. That was a major defect, so good to hear that that'll be hopefully remedied fairly soon. The speed hump at Budgeons, yeah, it was great that that one particular hole there was fixed, but the whole of that speed hump there, obviously it gets a huge amount of traffic, through traffic to the shops there, so it's collapsing generally. So that is going to be a very, very temporary fix, I should imagine. Barnhurst, obviously everybody's sick of me talking about this one, but it is a bugbear. We've had a resident just today go into one of the major potholes there and trashed his wheel, with a fairly expensive cost to fix that. So yeah, we really do need to get together and actually have that plan pinned down sometime soon. That road is absolutely urgent. It's a major through road, from Wolverhampton. It's a cut through. It's and the state of it is just unacceptable. So I really look forward to meeting with you on that one. On the bollards, so a question on this one: what is actually allowed if we are to strategically site bollards around the village to mitigate the worst of the damage to the verges and the worst of the pavement parking that's obviously blocking access for people with walkers, wheelchairs, whatever? Are you allowed to put in wood? I think we were told to sort of avoid it because it's over time perishable, but then again, the plastic ones that have gone in have also been trashed and are shedding bits of plastic into the environment. So I'd be interested if there is guidance on that. And Watery Lane, there are quite a lot of stakeholders concerned about this. So it'd be really good if you could come and talk to us when that discussion is going to go forward. But that is an accident waiting to happen on the crossing between Jubilee Wood, Watery Lane and the new estate down there. So I'd be really interested to have that conversation. Thank you.
When it comes to individual roads and things within your areas, can I just remind everybody that as district councillors, we don't have that responsibility. So it goes to your local county councillor. So whoever the actual county councillor for that area is should be approached in the first instance so that they can look at it. Now, county councillors do have a small amount of money called a DHP, which they can put towards certain jobs, but they will also this year be having, again, the Category 3 pothole fund that we are £2 million spread across the entire county councillors, which means that they'll be able to prioritise certain roads within their area, especially where there's Cat 3 defects. So what I would suggest for anything, first of all, when it comes to local things, is liaise with your local county council, whoever that is for that area, because it is their responsibility and it will be up to them to prioritise, as that's what they've been elected for.
Thank you. In terms of prioritisation, we are looking at a network review. This is a long-term plan, and that will look at things like frequency of gully emptying, winter treatment, because our roads are changing, aren't they, as developments come along. Roads are busier, so there is a hierarchy review planned. Not sure when that will take place, but it is in the pipeline. In terms of the bollards, this is something we work with the parish council with. Basically, they came to us for permission to put them on the highway. You know, and we will consider those bollards, as you know. Again, you pointed out the plastic ones that we've put in previously, the small white posts, they don't last very long. Not everybody likes the black and white reflector ones, but I think at the time the parish felt that these would try and help with parking, and we've gone along with that. It's a bit of a trial. So it was a parish funded project, which we supported, if you like, but we can consider other areas from any parish if they want to get involved. The last one, Watery Lane, happy to talk to you about the problems down there. We'll be meeting with Councillor Spencer in the next 2 or 3 weeks to discuss his divisional highway programme, where we will cover small improvements like that. And it could be a reduction in the speed limit may help. We could look at other things as well, signage, lining, speed indication devices. So there is a number of things that we could look at if there is a problem there.
Okay, thank you. Excuse me. Thank you. Moving on to number 4, Councillor Wilson.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Wilson. The volumes of traffic from new developments are generally calculated from TRICS, which is Trip Rate Information Computer System. This is a national database used throughout the county by transport professionals. The database comprises of thousands of traffic surveys of similar planning use classes to calculate the pattern of traffic, both in numbers and the peak times. The planning system generally should allow consultees such as highways to make their comments based on their professional judgment and not influenced by others. Any issues or opinions that councillors have that differ should always be sent to the planners, so they are taken into account as part of the local planning authority's consideration of any planning application, so it will be aired publicly. However, officers can and regularly do meet with councillors to explain their decision when time allows. We only have 21 days which to reply and deal with a lot of planning applications. If there's a difference of opinion, then the councillors should always register their view with the local planning authority. We have a variety of officers dealing with applications, so the best way to contact an officer would be to email the email that I placed on your thing, so if I go through it, I'll definitely get it wrong, which is the inbox for South Staffs planning applications. The office monitoring this inbox can find the relevant officer from this system. Our development control team do present to the planning committee periodically on how the process works, and the team will be happy to discuss this with Councillor Williams to suit. Wilson to suit.
You have a supplementary question?
No, thank you, but I would like to check that email address because I think it might have been a mistype.
That's why I didn't want to read it out.
All right, moving on. Item number 5, Councillor Dufty, please.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Dufty. So this winter has been particularly challenging, reported as the wettest, as I said, for 130 years, with 2.5 to 3 times more than normal rainfall. Following 10 named storms since the late autumn, rivers have been full and the ground has been saturated together with cold winter nights. The impact on our road surfaces has been quite significant, with close on a trebling of emergency and high-risk defects compared with the previous winter. Our highway maintenance teams, however, deserve great credit for responding remarkably well to the challenge, moving resources and working tirelessly 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and using low-cost temporary holding repairs when traffic or weather conditions dictate, to ensure those defects that pose the greatest risk to our public safety have been made safe as quickly as possible. During January, across the entire county, 97% of emergency defects were attended within 2 hours. 93% of Category 1 defects were attended in 24 hours, and over 70% of Category 2 defects were repaired within 7 days. However, as we now start to wind up the winter gritting operations and head into the main road repair season, our full armoury of pothole repair resources will also be ramped up again, including a high output seasonal velocity patcher crews. Over the next 3 years, we're investing as a county council £50 million into local road maintenance. Through this investment, we will be delivering an enhanced programme of capital maintenance schemes to replace sections of life-expired roads, as well as carrying out around 130 miles of pothole prevention service treatments and 30,000 individual pothole repairs each year. Where the council's strategic maintenance programmes don't include a locally important maintenance needs, the county councillor retains the ability to use their own local pothole fund together with the members' existing divisional highway programme to bring local defects and drainage repairs forward.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary question?
I do, yes, thank you. And thank you, Councillor Williams, for your presentation a bit earlier about the fact that there's a new plan coming as well. That I'm heartened to hear that. I think we all are. And you mentioned about preventative work, which I think is obviously where we all want to go with that. So that's great to hear. Particularly pleasing to hear the comment you gave back to I think it was the previous councillor, that there'll be an increased category 3 fund, or sort of an identified category 3 fund, which is wonderful, because that partly feeds into one of my 3 supplementary questions, which is the statistics you've given back in the answers there look marvellous. There's no doubt about that for category 1 and category 2. In Kimber and Enville, the majority of our road-related issues are category 3, and there's no statistics on that in the answer there. So it bears little relevance to where we are and the problems that we come to us as councillors. And I do know that where we have particularly bad issues, Councillor Wilson, as our county councillor, is really good at dealing with the particularly difficult and dangerous potholes that we do have. But we do have a lot of them. We have multiple. There's residents' injuries as well, resulting in them. For example, there's a series of category 3 potholes down Enville Road near Potter's Cross. There's been a recent personal injury there, which and that's been reported since 2019. It's been reported several times. So I wonder, what's the data on the category 3, please? Oh, sorry.
So we haven't got any specific data on the category 3s, but obviously what we do as a county council is we prioritise the most dangerous potholes and defects. So obviously category 1s and category 2s are the ones which we are continuing to do. This is probably one of the first winters where we've actually continued to do that throughout the winter period. Normally, I mean, obviously it is the worst time of year, but we have more things opening up than normal. And remembering that half of our team now are on the gritting, so it's not, we don't bring in extra people to do the gritting. If you're looking at a shelf, they're the same people on the shelf that we then put into doing gritting. So it's always going to be that during the winter months, especially category 3 reef repairs will be reduced in their amounts. But what we are trying to do with the way that we've restructured, and we are continuing to restructure highways, is to actually ensure that we can repair more category 3 defects with different types of kit. So one of those that is really, really useful, and I know it's spoke about in other places, is our thermal patcher. Now the thermal patching system that has been used in Codsall and around this area as well, really good piece of equipment. It's actually solar powered, which is quite strange. So it's charged up via green electric at the depots, but the actual working system on it is solar powered. And actually, we can now calculate the actual carbon reduction that each one of these machines uses. So when it comes to the time that we can start to repair category 3 defects, which will be when it's drier, it will mean that we will be able to hit into them quickly with both our Roadmaster and our thermal patches, because they don't require as much of the in-depth planning that we do for the category 1s and 2s. So that's why there isn't the statistics for that for the category 3s. And what we're also trying to do with our surface dressing treatments, what you will find is that we're doing 100 and something miles, I can't remember off the top of my head, of miles of preventative treatment. So what that will mean is that the stretch of road that is to receive the preventative treatment will have all the category 3 defects on it repaired, and then they will come along after those have seized off, so that it doesn't strike through the actual surface. And what you'll find is that road surface will then be completed with our new materials, which actually looks a lot like, in most cases, like new roads, and that will then go over. So actually, the amount of Category 3 defects that we hope to be addressing in this coming year will actually be even more than we've ever done in the past.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. That's really positive things for us to take back there. One part of my question, I mentioned about personal injury. There's obviously must be lots of claims you get about car, wheels and all sorts of things. I know some of those wouldn't be successful, but I imagine a large part are. Part of my question, which wasn't addressed, was about the legal costs and costs of compensation that the council face, which I imagine must have been increasing because of the way things have been increasing. And I totally take on board the change in the climate and had the impact that that's had on the roads. But nonetheless, we are where we are. So I'm interested to know what the data is there. How much is it costing the council to deal with legal costs and compensation claims, where we might be better putting that into preventative work? And I know it's difficult because it's chicken before egg. I appreciate that, but it would be really remiss of me not to pick up on that question.
I think it's a very fair question, actually. I know that our legal costs have increased recently, and obviously they would do through the winter times. Remembering that we've been, as a highway authority and as the entire country, we've actually been underfunded by quite some amount of money for quite some time. So we are catching up. Since we've taken over in this administration, we have arrested the decline, and in fact we've improved the amount of roads that are now life expired. So that's the positive part. You are right about the amount of claims that have gone, and they are concerning. We can provide you with those details, but I haven't got them to hand. But it is about 100% at the moment of the increase in claims. I haven't got any figures, but we can get those to you. But I think that the point, what we're trying to do is, by the amount of both capital maintenance, which is proper structural maintenance, which is the really expensive type, and then the preventative maintenance, we're trying to do is address large areas so that those are actually rectified all in one go.
Thank you. No further questions. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Councillor Bob Cope.
Thank you for your question, Bob. So Leatherfield Road in Sharesill is on an annual inspection route, and any defects meeting intervention will be repaired based on the risk and category of the defect. However, additional ad hoc inspections do take place following concerns raised throughout our reporting system. Our highways teams inform me that repairs are planned for the 25th of March. However, there are further inquiries on the system currently awaiting our inspection team to attend. With regards to the M54 M6 link, road plans have been delayed, not by us, by National Highways, and our highway teams are currently putting together plans to address the surface condition of the M54 Junction 1 island, in addition to the island at Junction 11 M6. The works require collaboration and coordination with National Highways and the M6 toll to arrange closures of motorway slip roads and traffic diversions. The latest ones that we have is the M6 is looking at June between 25th and 20th. Sorry, 6 Junction 11. So M6 Junction 11, we're looking between 25th and 28th of March during daytime works for gully and defect remedies and repairs. What I will say to that one especially is that it's been extremely disappointing how long we've been waiting for National Highways to say it, and they still haven't started anything, including. So it is something that has caused us issue. And as you know, that we did try to do some of the repairs around the M54 because we were told by National Highways last year that they were going to start, and they still haven't. So it is a constant one which we're still liaising on. Over the coming months, we'll also see our investment into new technology such as the JCB Pothole Pro, the thermal road patcher, and the groundbreaking AI technology that we've now got in all our inspector vans that identifies and categorises potholes to be repaired as they come to fruition. This, coupled with the County Council's recently announced £50 million investment in roads over the next 3 years, means our crews will resurface even more roads and fix more defects. When we had the JCB Potapole on trial, it delivered around 14,000 square metres of road repairs by the end of March last year. We've actually purchased one at the moment, and that is now in constant use around the county. As I say, it isn't for certain roads because it's quite big. It isn't for certain roads because it doesn't need it and certain defects. So it is being used on the larger category defects.
Councillor Cope.
Thank you, David. Accept what you've said on the first one regarding Latherford Lane, although it was last repaired last June and it is on an annual basis. So I do feel I've had some effect there because it's come forward to the 25th of March. So thank you for that. The big issue is the M54 Junction 1 Island. Now, we've been playing ping pong at Parish Council through Gavin Williamson, through the Chief Executive, trying to get answers for 2 years. And I'm none the wiser really what you've said tonight. If it's national highways, it's took 2 years to resolve that. Then I get it that they've got to close the link roads to the motorway, but I'm not happy that it's taking so long. Now, a letter that was sent to the Chief Exec from Gavin Williamson came back, and quite honestly, there was no sort of answer to it. All it said was the community highway manager met with inspection and operation teams recently to discuss the road surface. No further dates have been confirmed, currently being planned. It's inane. We're sending things, we need more detail. Now, I can't criticise Mark. Mark, you're excellent at doing your job. And thank you very much, you're very candid. But this needs moving on. And after this meeting, can I have a contact at National Highways? Because I'll pursue it myself. It's just not good enough, 2 years to take this long. And we're waiting for an organisation that you've not been able to make a start on it. And in the interim, we're getting letters going backwards and forwards that's telling us nothing. So do you want to comment on that? Will you give me the detail and I'll chase it myself?
Thank you for your comments, Councillor. Yeah, we have had a lot of problems with national highways, in particular when it comes to closing the slip roads. So the Junction 11 is the next one, and national highways have actually got overnight closures, and we're just going in on the daytime. And those early dates, we felt that we needed to do that area first. But I spoke to the team. I speak to the team constantly about these two sites. They're a priority for myself in set steps. Once we've done Junction 11, we'll see what we can do exactly, replicate what we've done and get down to M54, because I'm aware of the condition that it's in. As I say, the timing at the moment, January, February, March, always really difficult as we're coming out of winter with the amount of category 1 and 2 priorities. So we can get going, and as David says, we can get the winter team back in as well. We've got more resource available. We'll come in probably as we did last time and do an overnight. But we do need cooperation from National Highways, and I will find you that contact. But we tend to get passed around a lot. We'll certainly do what we can, but for us it is a priority.
Yeah, we'll get you that, Bob. I think the thing is, from our point of view, it's extremely frustrating as well, because we've, as you can imagine, with the work that was supposed to be going on around the M54 Junction 1 and M6 Junction 11, we were told a couple of years ago when it was going to start that we would be able to get a lot of these defects done because of the work that would be carried out. So we've tried to work with National Highways to not have to spend money, taxpayers' money, on doing something that literally will be ripped up and changed. Unfortunately, that's not the case anymore. So that's exactly why it's taken so long. We have been, I know that James Bailey and Mark have always been trying to get National Highways to actually comment and say when they were going to do it. If you remember, they were actually saying they would have started in December last year again, and they still haven't even started the compound. So I don't know when it will happen, so we're going to have to bite the bullet and get onto it. But I can also tell you that not only Mark but Cheryl, who works in that area, is extremely conscious about what's going on, and he's actually pushing. So what we will do is try to plan to do that work as soon as possible.
Thank you. Councillor Duncan.
Sorry, I haven't got his question. I haven't got that one. What?
Can I answer that? Yeah, thank you, councillor. So I know we've been in contact, and Wolverhampton Road has been a particularly difficult site. Unfortunately, highways tend to get the blame for everything, but there's a lot of issues on that site in terms of water coming from adjacent land, from adjacent landowners. We've also got that defect right on the quarry entrance. Well, it's a road opening where our gully drain, or the drainage, has been crushed, and there's some utility plant cables over the top of that pipe as well, which has made it really difficult to access. However, recently we closed the road, as you know, for a few days just to carry out some further investigation. We also had our jet vac machine down there to clear the flooding and some of the gullies, jet the system there. We thought we'd be able to open the road with the opening in the access and just barrier it off, but it's a little bit too far in the carriageway, so we've had to go back to three-way lights on a temporary basis. The next thing to happen is myself, colleagues, and operational colleagues are going out to site to meet with the quarry owners and the adjacent landowner to resolve the water issue, and to put a resolve in terms of what we're going to do with the quarry access, because the current material and the construction of the access isn't good enough for the amount of quarry vehicles that are coming out there. So there's a little bit of legwork to do with the adjacent landowners, but I'm hopeful that is progressing.
Yeah, thank you for that, Mark. That situation as it stands, yeah, I appreciate that. But it's the amount of time it has taken to start the action. Myself and Councillor Susan Duncan, we've had countless amounts of people complaining to us about it, and we have tried to defend the situation, but to no avail, because I think it's been going on now for is this the third week, and it's only just started really to happen. So and people have kept coming back to us and saying, we keep being told it's low priority, but it doesn't seem low priority really with regards to a major road where countless people are using it and complaining about the lights going faulty. Whether it's the fault of the actual people in the cars, I don't know, but it has created a lot of controversy, and that's the reason I brought this question to council tonight.
Okay, thank you for that. That brings us to the end of the written questions. Can I first of all thank Councillor Williams and Mark Keeling for coming along tonight and giving you the opportunity to ask questions. I know there were written questions, but it's very important that they have an opportunity to provide the information, so that they come here, they provide us with some really relevant information. I'm going to move on now to item 6, which was item 5, the DFG shared services update, and I believe this is Michelle Kettles.
A point of order, please. It was my understanding that I would be able to speak at this meeting to the highway representatives. There was no indication in the paper that that was not possible. Therefore, could you give the explanation, please?
So obviously the email was sent out before asking for written questions, so answers could be provided. If members do have further questions that I feel haven't been addressed, then we can take those, but obviously the officer's not going to have necessarily the information to respond to those. So we could take them either verbally, or if you're happy, you could send those in and I can pass those on and they can be responded to. It's just obviously the Mark and David may not have the answers this evening.
Chairman, my memory's pretty good, and I know it was worded that there would be written questions and there'd be the opportunity for members to also ask questions. And I think those questions should be asked. If the officers can't respond, then fair enough, they come back and respond in the form of an email or whatever, but give them that opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, it's agreed. Councillor
Thank you.
Allen.
It is a question. Could some consideration be given, please, to both the highway for access between Purton and Codsall, both the highway and the pavement access, be given some thought, both from, I'm saying this from a point of traffic and pedestrians. We still have no safe route to school 40 years after the development of Purton, and we now have a case of being ruined between the two things. Our children will not be able to get to school without waders because of the flooding in Keepers Lane and Heathhouse Lane, and the A41 at the bottom of the hollow between Purton's Crossroads and the works. And could I have some consideration also given to a traffic management plan in view of the new housing that's considered for Cosbillbrook? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Aaron. With the localised issues, you would need to take those through your local county councillor. That will be then for them to prioritise. And if the local county councillor wants to look at the transport plan for us for any developments, that will again be for them to prioritise.
Councillor Brindle.
Thank you, Chairman. I do like the way we have to go through our county councils, and Bernard will back me up on this. We have had a bollard at the top of Featherstone Avenue at 90 degrees to the floor now for 2.5 years. He has personally sent in that he did as a tripping hazard, and it's nice and black and big, and it's got the red and white tape on, and everybody steps over it and carries on their journey. So we have gone through our district councillor for 2.5 years. It's still there and nothing happened. That's one. The second one I'd like to raise is the ponding of water opposite the red, white and blue at Featherstone. That it's not, yeah, you're nodding, and we it's been there now for 5 years, and we know the gullies need to be cleared out. So that's one. And recently, all the water that is outside Chesney High School, which has suddenly appeared, and the kids can't even park on the car park and walk to the school, with the other hazard down the lane where you just on about with the traffic lights that are seldom working. It's just an hazard in that area with all the water. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Just to answer that, obviously the ones on Featherstone we know run very, very slowly. The water table is extremely high, so they will run even slower at the moment. So there's very little we can actually do with regards to that. But they are, all of the gullies are on cyclical cleansing systems. A roads are on a more intrinsic and more often system than others. But if you have any particular blocked ones, please report it via the My Staff app and you get a number and you will get informed of when that is completed. With regards to the bollard, it's the first I've heard anything about it. But again, we go on a priority basis for safety. And actually, if an inspector's attended and has said that it is deviated, but it needs to be put up right, then that will be done on a priority basis as for safety. Similarly with the Chesley High, and I think the member would also agree, Chesley High School is literally in the bottom of a basin. That's where all the water goes off all of the fields around it. It is going to be an issue, and we've also had large developments going down there, which will also add into the issues. We are working with Severn Trent on making sure as much of the water is taken away as possible from right the way across the county, because obviously the water on the road causes more damage.
Councillor Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First question, when a road is classed as life expired, what do highways do with it then? Second question, I believe the gully cleansing is on a 3-yearly cycle. Did you mention earlier, or did I mishear, that you are trying to address that and do it more often? Thank you.
So when a road's been identified as life expired, obviously, again, it goes on to a priority basis, depending on the type of road, the amount of vehicles that go on it, where it goes to, and so forth. So that when it is life expired, it's then placed onto the capital maintenance programme, and we will basically attend and resurface that whenever funding and something that most people don't know is that we actually have to look at what we close at certain times, so that we have to look at the space on the network. So again, if there are areas that have got life expired roads, then they will basically not just be surface dressed, which is what they were. They're still usable, but what it means is that they will then require full cleaning. And now, when it comes to gullies, there is a 3-year different 3 types of gully cleansing. So main roads and larger roads will get an annual cleanse. Other roads, B roads, will get a biannual cleanse, and then lanes and so forth, smaller roads will get a triannual cleanse. But that can be dependent on the data that we've actually got from the system now, that if we need to elevate anywhere else to a more often cleanse, that we can do that, providing we have the resources to do it.
Councillor Andy Adams.
Chair. First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much to Councillor Williams and indeed Mark Keeling for coming out to Pillerton, where we have a significant issue with speeding, and indeed there was also a significant issue with regards to flooding. Both of those things are now on your agenda and you're working your way through them. With regards to lighting, I've had a result with Eon, 2 weeks, 3 lights fixed, and the people of the estate are more than happy with it. And also, David, thank you for taking my call again today. We seem to be on first names at term basis. Mill Street, I appreciate, and you've now seen the issue, and it's now on your agenda. You've given me a date for fixing. I do have one issue, which I did report some time ago, which is on the A449, where there's an elevated Keith left pylon. It's the first one of 4 pylons. It was knocked down in an accident. I appreciate that it's a cost. Could we please have a look at this and have it reinstated? The people, I reported it. The inspectors went out and said there's nothing wrong. It's just not there. So the bolts are in the ground. It needs a pylon putting back in, because someone will overtake, and someone one day is going to be coming out of one of those 2 roads which protect them. Thank you very much.
Very pleased to let you know there's a job on. I haven't got a date for it, but we have got a job on, so that will be replaced shortly.
Okay, do we have any further questions? Councillor Steele.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll try and make it quick. It's actually, it could help a lot of people really. It's sort of specific, but it's general. At High Hill in Essington, the road goes, there's 2 real big dips. In the second dip, the water gets up to 18 inches deep, but also it's not just rainwater. It then backs up with sewerage, and all manner of stuff is then floating around the road. And also it's that deep that it's fused the property's electric gates, which are immediately adjacent to this flooding. So I'd be interested, is it Highways, when that happens, is it Highways' fault, or is it Severn Trent? With sewerage is mixing with the stuff that comes from the sky. The sewerage doesn't come from the sky. So where do myself, it'll now be Kath's issue because she's our local county councillor. Sorry, Kath. But also, you know, what do we do? Who do we go to on that one?
Again, I'm glad to report that Councillor Perry and Councillor Bernard Williams have already highlighted that, and the officers are looking into it. Part of the issue is the fact that the the gully network discharges into the drainage system through Severn Trent. So we're working with Severn Trent, and that's already on the system where we are working with them to see if we can alleviate the problems there. It may be a problem farther down, so that's why we're looking at it with Severn Trent. We'll be able to send the cameras through, but also looking at where the water goes to, because I think, again, it's one of those things where it's okay moving water from one place to another, but the water will want to go somewhere, and at the moment it is struggling with where the water table is nationally. Farmers especially are struggling with it with their fields, and similarly when you look at a farmer's field next to a highway, when the water is on the top of the farmer's field, that's where the highway water is as well, because it carries on. So we have got issues with that, but with that particular one, it's on the system and being worked on already.
Can I just say, Chairman, I think it's very brave of you both to turn up. Thank you.
Right, do we have any further questions? Or can we take them off the rack? Eh? Are you all okay with that? Okay. Moving on to item 6, which was 5. I think Councillor Reid, you want to present this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, members. It's just a few words to say that back in early 2023, we saw the opportunity to improve the facilities grant, and we engaged ourselves into a partnership with Stafford. As far as I'm concerned, although there were issues that were of concern between the two, the break from one to another, handling of the DFGs, we were able to mitigate quite a considerable amount of outstanding works. And from then on, I think from the meetings we're having regular meetings with our partners, Stafford or here, it's very encouraging to hear the progress that's been made. And bear in mind, we're coming up now nearly to the first 12 months. And so that all in all, I'm very pleased in the new system. And I'll pass over now to Michelle, that will go through the report with you. Thank you.
Councillor Reid, good evening. As Councillor Reid's just said, the previous contract for the disabled facilities grants was outsourced to a private company, and they managed the contract for 6 of the districts across Staffordshire. There were several issues with the contract around waiting times, the quality of work. So when that contract ended, a decision was made to bring the service back in-house. And as Councillor Reid said, in April 23, we entered into a shared service with Stafford Borough Council, and they host the service on our behalf. Part of the plan for year 1 was to get the team fully trained and working together. There's 7 members, and only one of those had 2P'd across from the organisation. Interviews are currently being held for another caseworker assistant to bring the team up to 8. But most of them had no experience of disabled facilities grant, despite being all very experienced in their own field. So part of the plan was to get them working together and managing the grants. When the service started, we had a backlog of 326 cases, and some had not been looked at for many months. During the last year of the contract, many staff had left the company and weren't replaced. So we saw a lot of cases that had no work for quite some time. As part of the process of setting up the new system and recording the data on the computer system, each application was reviewed, and where the client's needs had changed, a new OT assessment was requested, just to make sure that all the adaptations that were originally requested still met the client's needs. We also identified any clients who, for various reasons, no longer needed an adaptation. It was a long process, but it allowed the team to understand the needs of the clients who were awaiting the adaptations, and it made sure that everybody who was waiting got a phone call with an update about their situation and a time frame of when they could expect the works to be done. So the figures in the report were correct at the end of Q3, but I realise that that's been quite some time now, and I've been able to find the up-to-date figures. So at the moment, there are 328 cases outstanding, but 210 of them were since the new service started. So we have brought the backlog down quite considerably. We've completed 81 adaptations up till now with a spend of 514,000. And with the staffing costs, that will take the total spend for year one to almost 700,000. The works that have already been approved or are at the tender stage or are in progress at the moment total 931,000. But any that are not completed before the end of the month do carry on into the new year. So the budget's a rolling figure, and we do have some slippage from last year that we'll be able to carry forward to make sure those works are done. Since the service began, there's only been one complaint, which was around delays to complete the work and poor workmanship. That complaint did go to the Ombudsman at the client's request, and we've had the decision back. They've agreed with our offer of compensation, and they've just requested that we get somebody out to look at any snagging issues. So that is in work at the moment. But I really think that having the review with all the clients at the start of the process really helped to mitigate any complaints and allowed us to build a rapport with the customers. We knew the year would be tough, starting it with the issues that we were carrying forward, but we've made a really positive start. And going forward, we're looking to develop the team further, thinking along the lines of a graduate or an apprenticeship role for the technical officer, so we can grow our own staff and build a team for the future. We're looking to increase the number of contractors that we're working with, hoping to invite some smaller businesses to come on board so we can support those across the district. And we're also looking to increase awareness of the disabled facilities grants so we can help more of our residents to remain in their own home.
I must add that we heard about the complaint, but Michelle didn't mention the compliments and praise that we've had from satisfied applicants that have had their facilities fitted and enable them to look after themselves more at home without having to rely on carers coming in. So you can see the two actually are cost saving for the county council, certainly. And of course, it's improving life for those that need those facilities. So I'm very pleased the way it's all gone. I'm sure there might be a few questions, but I'm sure Michelle who has done a lot of work, and I do thank her very much for her help and guidance as we've gone through this new process. So it's over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to say, yes, thank you for all the work that you've done. Having worked with a previous company, which I will not name because I had so many problems with them and so many arguments and downright lies, it's worked really well. And I think it's a tribute to the professionalism of the team and the hard work that you've done that the complaints have dropped so dramatically. Long may it continue to do so, and long may the residents of South Staffs get a really good service that they did deserve before, but they didn't get. Thank you.
Do you have any further questions? Councillor Hart.
Just a brief question really about budgets for this, because I'm conscious if the disabled services grants are more easily available, then consequently more improvements can be made to people's homes. In looking at the number of cases that's still outstanding, it's very obvious that more budget is required for this. So is some assistance needed with the applications for grant, or is it that the applications for the disabled grant have changed in some way that we can't expedite this more swiftly?
I think we're getting the message out to more people that the grants are available for them. Looking at the process for the residents, we are trying to make that better and smoother than it has been previously. Sometimes there's things that are out of our control, especially if there's other social care issues that are going on with the residents as well. So we are looking to maximise our budget, and we did have some slippage from previous years that we can call on as the need for it increases. But I am confident we will be spending our budget.
Do we have any further questions? No? Well, there is a recommendation, and that recommendation is it's for your information only. We now move on to item 7, work programme.
So I'll only be an hour or so on this, members, so it'll be fine. Just very briefly, members, just to highlight that there are 2 items that are on the original work programme that haven't been addressed so far this municipal year. Firstly, the local plan. I know there was a briefing last night, and obviously members are aware of what's happening with that, and that will come forward to formal meetings as necessary. And secondly, the out-term report on the member working groups. At the time of writing this report, some of the member working groups were still ongoing. So that will come to your first meeting in the next municipal year as a round off of the member working groups. And that's it. Happy to take any questions.
Do we have any questions? Councillor Steers.
Yeah, could you give me a bit more information on the procedure for a councillor call for action, please, Lorraine?
Yes, certainly. So it's set out in the constitution. So if there's a particular topic that affects a member's ward, then they can invoke the councillor call for action, which means it goes on the agenda as it says, as a call for action from that member. So it enables them to get something onto the overview and scrutiny agenda by invoking that call for action. But all the detail of what you have to do are within the scrutiny procedure rules in part 4 of the Constitution.
More precisely, does it cover all 3 tiers of local government, or is it only district council issues, please?
You're testing my memory of the Constitution now, Councillor Steele. I think the wording is it's any matter that affects the ward or the residents of your ward. So I don't think it is restricted just to district council matters. It's a matter that affects residents in your ward.
I should be checking your inbox then. Thank you.
Do we have any further questions? No? Well, in that case, there is a recommendation. That recommendation is that members note the report. We're all content with that? Okay, thank you. Well, item 7 being the final item on the agenda, can I thank those who have been presenting tonight, officers and new members for your attendance and contribution. And at 8:14, I formally close the meeting.